Sometimes a great wandering thought sees the ages still unaccomplished, seizes the force in its eternal flow, and precipitates upon earth the powerful vision which is like a power to make real what it sees. The world is a vision growing real. Its past and its present are not really the result of an obscure push from the womb of time, a slow accumulation of sediments that fashion us little by little and stifle us and imprison us, but the powerful golden attraction of the future pulling us in spite of ourselves, as the sun pulls the lotus out of the mud and forcing us to a glory greater than either our mud or our efforts or present triumphs could have foreseen or created. Sri Aurobindo is this vision and this power to precipitate the future into the present. In a moment he saw, and what he saw the ages will accomplish. Unknowingly, millions of men will set out in quest of the new imperceptible tremor that has swept into the earth's atmosphere. Thus, from age to age, great beings come among us to hew a great opening of truth into the sepulchre of the past. And indeed, those beings are the great destroyers of the past. They come with the sword of knowledge to shatter our fragile empires. For the problem is fundamental. It is not a question of bringing a new philosophy to the world, or new ideas, or so-called illuminations. It is not a question of making our prison more livable, or of endowing men with ever more fantastic powers, armed with his microscopes and telescopes. The human gnome remains a gnome, pain-ridden and helpless. We send rockets to the moon, but we do not know our own hearts. It is a question, says Sri Aurobindo, of creating a new physical nature which is to be the habitation of the supramental being in a new evolution. For indeed, he adds, the imperfection of man is not the last word of nature, but his perfection too is not the last peak of the spirit. Beyond the mental man that we are, there opens a possibility of another being, who will take the lead of evolution as man one day took the lead of evolution among the apes. If, says Sri Aurobindo, the animal is a living laboratory in which nature has, it is said, worked out man, man himself may well be a thinking and living laboratory in whom and with whose conscious cooperation she wills to work out the Superman, the God. Sri Aurobindo has come to tell us how to create this other being, this supramental being, and not only to tell us, but to do it, to open the path of the future, to precipitate upon earth the rhythm of evolution, the new vibration that will replace the mental vibration, as a thought one day came and disturbed the slow routine of the beasts, and will give us the power to shatter the walls of our human prison. But this prison is already crumbling. The end of a stage of evolution, announced Sri Aurobindo, is usually marked by a powerful recrudescence of all that has to go out of the evolution. Everywhere about us we can see this paroxysmal shattering of all the old forms. Our borders, our churches, our laws our morals are collapsing on every side. They are not collapsing because we are bad, immoral, irreligious, or because we are not sufficiently rational, scientific, or human, but because we have done with being human, because we have done with the old machinery, because we are in transition to something else. The earth is not going through a moral crisis, but through an evolutionary crisis. We are not moving toward a better world or a worse one. We are in the middle of a mutation toward a radically different world, as different as man's world was from that of the apes of the tertiary. We are entering a new era, a supramental quinquenary. We leave our countries, roam the world in search of drugs or adventure. We go on strike here, enact reforms there, rise in one more revolution. But all this is a mere appearance. Unknown to ourselves, we are in search of the new being. We are right in the midst of a human revolution. And Sri Aurobindo gives us the key. The sense of our own revolution eludes us, possibly because we are trying to prolong what is, to refine it, improve it, sublimate it. But the ape might have made the same mistake in the midst of the simian revolution that produced man. It might have sought to become a super ape, more skillful at climbing trees, at hunting and running, a more agile and mischievous ape. With Nietzsche, we too sought a Superman, who was nothing more than a colossalization of man. Or with the spiritualists, a super saint more richly endowed with virtue and wisdom. But we have no use for human virtue and wisdom. Even carried to their highest heights, it is the same old poverty gilded over, the glorious reverse of our tenacious misery. Supermanhood, says Sri Aurobindo, is not man climbed to his own natural zenith, nor a superior degree of human greatness, knowledge, power, intelligence, will, genius, saintliness, love, purity, or perfection. It is something else, another vibration of being, another consciousness. But if this new consciousness is not to be found on the peaks of the human, where then shall we find it? Perhaps quite simply in that which we have most neglected since we entered the mental cycle, in the body. This body is our base, our evolutionary foundation, the old stock to which we always return, and which painfully compels our attention by making us suffer, age, and die. In that imperfection, Sri Aurobindo assures us, is the urge towards a higher and more many-sided perfection. It contains the last finite, which yet yearns to be supreme infinite. God is pent in the Maya, but the very fact imposes a necessity to break through that prison. There lies the old, never-cured malady, the never-changed root, the dark matrix of our misery, hardly different today from what it was in the time of the lemurs. It is this physical substance that we must transform. Otherwise, it will pull down, one after another, all the human or superhuman devices we try to graft on it. This body, this physical, cellular substance, contains almighty powers. A dumb consciousness that holds all lights and all infinitudes, no less than mental and spiritual immensities do. For in truth, all is divine. And if the Lord of all universes does not reside in a single little cell, he resides nowhere. It is this dark, primeval, cellular prison that we must break open. And until we have broken this one prison, we will continue to go round vainly in the golden or iron circles of our mental prison. These laws of nature, says Sri Aurobindo, that you call absolute, merely mean an equilibrium established by nature. It is merely a groove in which nature is accustomed to work in order to produce certain results. But if you change the consciousness, then the groove is bound to change. Such is the new adventure to which Sri Aurobindo invites us, an adventure into man's unknown. Whether we like it or not, the whole earth is moving into a new groove. But why should we not like it? Why should we not collaborate in this never attempted adventure, in our own evolution, instead of endlessly repeating the same old story, instead of chasing artificial paradises that will never quench our thirst, or otherworldly paradises that leave the earth to rot along with our bodies? Why begin at all if it's to get out of it? Exclaims the mother, the continuer of Sri Aurobindo's work. What's the use of having struggled so much, suffered so much, of having created something which, in its outer appearance at least, is so tragic and dramatic, if it is only to learn how to get out of it? It would have been better not to begin at all. Evolution is not a tortuous path that brings us back, somewhat battered, to the starting point. Quite the contrary, it is meant, says the mother, to teach the whole creation the joy of being, the beauty of being, the grandeur of being, the majesty of a sublime life, and the perpetual development, perpetually progressive, of this joy, this beauty, this grandeur. Then everything has a meaning. This body, this obscure beast of burden we inhabit, is the experimental field of Sri Aurobindo's yoga, which is a yoga of the whole earth. For understandably, if a single being amidst our millions of sufferings succeeds in taking the evolutionary leap, in working out the mutation of the next age, the face of the earth will be radically altered, and all the so-called powers we glory in today will look like childish games before the radiance of this almighty spirit in a body. Sri Aurobindo tells us that it can be done. Not only that it can be done, but that it will be done. It is being done. And perhaps everything depends not so much on a sublime effort of humanity to transcend its limitations, for that is still using our own human strength to free ourselves from human strengths, as on a call, a conscious cry of the earth to this new being which she already carries in herself. All is already there within our hearts, the supreme source which is the supreme power. Only we must call it into our jungle of concrete. We must understand our own sense. The amplified cry of the earth, of these millions of men and women who have had enough of their prison, who can no longer bear it, must open a crack through which the new vibration will burst in. Then all the apparently ineluctable laws that bind us in the hereditary and scientific groove will crumble before the joy of the new sun-eyed children. Expect nothing from death, says the mother. Life is your salvation. It is in life that you must transform yourself. It is on earth that you progress, on earth that you realize. It is in the body that you win the victory. Nor let worldly prudence whisper too closely in thy ear, says Sri Aurobindo, for it is the hour of the unexpected.